Good afternoon. In this video, we talk about how to overcome a difficult situation. It may happen to you when you are speaking English and you make some mistake. And the person, the foreigner who is in front of you may start to laugh. And this can surely make you to feel uncomfortable, to feel shy. So there are 4 tips useful to help you to fight the fear of being laughed at. This is the story. Amy Melendez was in a supermarket in Maryland with friends when it happened to her. She had ordered one of her favorite drinks, a Kona-based beverage from Central America called Atoli. She began to drink her Atoli when a man nearby asked if the drink was good. But the man was using casual language, and Melendez did not understand his question. So she said, "I don't know." The man was surprised, then asked how it was possible for her not to know how the drink was. That's when the laughter began. The man laughed, their friend laughed, and Amy Melendez felt a little foolish and embarrassed. A spoken exchange with the man was entirely in Spanish. In fact, Melendez was a Spanish learner, but she's also an English teacher, an English language teacher. Currently, she supervises English and Service Worker Training Program at 32 BJ in Maryland. Melendez want to share this story, the supermarket story, with many of her students. She wants them to know she can relate to the challenges of learning a foreign language. Being laughed at or joked about can happen no matter what kind of language, what foreign language you are learning. And it may make some learners nervous about speaking their new language. However, experts say there are ways to overcome those feelings. So, in this video, we share suggestions from a few teachers. Why do people laugh? But first, let's explore why some people laugh. Winter Oshibero teaches English in Washington, D.C. and Maryland, including for the International Center for Language Studies and a non-profit group called Paper Airplanes. She says most people who laugh are not trying to mean or artful. Instead, a language learner's pronunciation or a way of putting words together may sound unusual to some native speakers and can take them by surprise. They are not thinking about how it might make the other individual feel who is learning the language. It's just a natural instinct. When you hear something that sounds a little bit different than what you would expect to hear or how you would expect to hear it. If the way you say something sounds different or unusual, to a native speaker, that person may not have had much contact with foreigners. Yash Plotkin is an American living in Brazil. He has been fluent in Portuguese for years. He operates a website called BrazilianGroup.com, which teaches foreigners how to live in Brazil and improve their spoken Portuguese. On his website, Plotkin notes that some Brazilians who have a little contact with the foreigners laugh at him because they aren't used to hearing an American speaking Portuguese. He notes similar experience when traveling in other countries and trying to speak their languages. But whether the reason is lack of contact or something else, we have tips for overcoming the fear of using your English. Tip number 1. Relax. Be patient with yourself. The first suggestion is to relax and be patient with yourself. A piece of advice from Oshibero. She says to remind yourself that you are learning the language, so it is normal to make some mistakes. She advises not to be too hard on yourself. I think sometimes the best thing to do is just smile and just breathe and relax and try not to let the fear of laughter to stop you from learning the language or immersing yourself in the language. Oshibero also suggests learners avoid setting learning goals that are too strict, which can sometimes become a barrier rather than help. Other experts note that people who make jokes or laugh may not have studied a second language. This is yet another reason not to judge yourself by reactions of others. Plotkin warns against worrying that people are thinking, "You look like a fool trying to speak our language." Ideas like these can hurt your progress and be a barrier to fluency. Tip number 2. Practice your speaking skills. The second tip is to practice your speaking skills. Both Melendez and Oshibero say practice is one of the best ways to deal with fear. Melendez suggests doing role plays. In a role play, 2 or more people act out an imaginary situation. We have many times this year played this task in class, and I have to recognize that many of you performed very well. For example, going to a market or talking to a bus driver. If you know there is a new situation, a situation you might not feel comfortable, what are the phrases you might need? What are the words? If someone can practice, is there someone you can practice with? But definitely just going through those role plays will help you to overcome the fear. You can imagine, for example, your friend is a bus driver and you have a lot of questions about taking the bus. You can practice the question on your friend. Melendez says, if you are unable to find a practice partner, you can practice in your head or you can talk out loud. You can also find another solution. Just record your voice as you train by yourself. In that way, you can listen yourself. You can listen for mistakes, whether in your wording or pronunciation, and correct them. Tip number 3. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Our third tip is don't be afraid to ask questions. If you are worried about what to do in the moment when someone makes a joke. The solution can be simple. Kindly ask the person the reason of their laughter, like this, says Melendez. Is there a different way that I could have said it? Or how would you usually say it? She said the issue could be something very simple. Then, once you know the issue, you can bring the information to a trusted person, such as a friend or practice partner, and ask them to help you correct him. Tip number 4. Keep a sense of humor. The fourth and final tip is to keep a sense of humor. Keeping a sense of humor can make the longer process of learning a language more fun. You might even laugh with the person who is laughing or making the joke. This may feel strange at first, but get easier with time. Josh Plotkin notes that over time he has come to understand that being laughed at when speaking a foreign language is not a bad thing. He has learned not to take it personally. These days, he even laughs along with the people, using it as a way to make new friends. And that's all for this story. Thank you for watching.